So last month ended up being the biggest month I've ever had in my agency. We collected over 150K. And when I reflect back on that, I realized that it didn't really happen because I had some crazy new secret acquisition channel, or because I started grinding, 14, 16 hours a day, or I did some crazy AI automation. Like, none of that stuff. It happened because I finally stopped letting my own thoughts put me back into the same identity that created my old results, right? Because most agency owners stuck at like 5, 10, 15, 30K a month, they think their problem is the ads, the offer, the sales calls, the setters, the clients. And the truth is, that is a good part of it, but in reality, the problem is also that their entire state is being controlled by the business itself. If a client complains, for example, they spiral like all these negative doubts, negative emotions. Or if ads don't convert for 3, 4, 5 days, they start doubting if ads really work for their niche. And then they go back to cold outreach, right? Or for example, if a sales call no-shows or cancels on you, their entire day is ruined, right? And then they wonder why nothing is really allowing them to get that breakthrough that they want, right? What I started to realize over the past 2-3 months is that your thoughts are not just random thoughts, right? Your thoughts basically create emotion, and that emotion is basically energy in motion. And that energy becomes your state, and your state is what controls how you show up and the decisions that you make on a day-to-day basis. And based on those decisions that you make, that is what your agency starts reflecting back to you, right? So if your mind is constantly focused on the clouds, which I like to call it, which is the clients complaining, the setter not performing, or the money not being where you want it to be, then that's the reality you keep feeding energy into. Where attention goes, energy flows. But what you have to realize is that the sky is always blue behind the clouds, right? It's always still blue. The vision is still there. The 100K a month version of the agency you want is still there. The version of you who is calm, sharp, detached, and moving like an actual operator is still there. You're simply just not tuned into that state of being on a day-to-day basis, right? Think of a radio, right? If you want to change the channel, you got to tune the frequency of the radio, right? And it's exact same thing with you. So in this video, boys, I just wanted to show you the exact internal shift that I personally had that led to me having a record month last month, in a way where I want you to understand that the vision changes who you're being while you're building towards it, right? And once who you're being is changing, then the mirror has no choice but to bend and basically start reflecting that reality. The first thing you have to understand is that your thoughts are not innocent, because most people treat their thoughts as if it's just some random thing happening in the background, right? Like literally first thing they do after they wake up is that they check Slack, reply to all the clients to see all the negative shit in there. And for instance, like I used to do this, right? I used to look at the annoying client message I got, first thing in the morning. And what I started to realize is that your entire state of being is already cooked and super negative if the first thing you do in the morning is just consume negative shit, right? You set the tone for the entire day, essentially. And this is kind of where a lot of people mess up as well, right? Not because they're bad at business or anything, but because they allow external things to decide who they're going to be that day. So if you're stuck between like 5 to 30K a month, especially with your agency, this is probably happening way, way more with you than you actually think, right? Because at that level, your agency is still working, but it's not really that consistent and predictable yet. So one week you might feel like you're about to hit 100K a month, right? And then the next week, 2 clients complain or dispute you, and a follow-up call you might have booked in with another guy might have slipped through, or your ads are not converting, and then suddenly you're kind of like doubting this entire thing, right? And then you spiral emotionally in negativity and just lower frequencies overall. And that right there is the problem, right? Because the version of you who scales to 100K a month does not get emotionally thrown around by every single little thing happening in the agency on the day-to-day basis, right? That version of you at 100K a month is completely detached, calm, clear. He doesn't really give a fuck, but at the same time he cares, right? He's not as emotionally attached to everything, essentially. Because think of it like this, right? Would you really care about this sales call right here if you knew you had like 10, 15 of them tomorrow? You probably wouldn't, right? So that's the type of state you need to step into, right? Abundance. And when I reflect back on last month, I realized that the only reason that it actually led to me having this record month was because I started becoming aware of how often I was getting random thoughts pull me back into the old version of myself, right? By having these old negative thoughts about, certain aspects and everything in life all the time. I'm not trying to say this in a cringe way where you should sit down and, visualize the Ferrari and then randomly it's gonna appear in your driveway, right? That's not what I'm saying or talking about here. What I'm saying is that the state you hold in your mind changes who you're being while you're building towards it. And who you're being determines the decisions that you make. So let's say that your vision is to build a 100K a month agency where you have a sick ass team, you're not doing fulfillment, you have a closer as well, you have CSMs, you're working maybe 1 or 2 hours a day, and everything is just way more peaceful and predictable. That's ultimately the blue sky. And me just telling you that is already giving you scenes in your mind of how life looks like at that point, and you can already start to feel the high energy you get from just thinking about it, right? Because then you start to think like, all right, cool, like I'm working 1 or 2 hours a day. What am I doing outside of that, right? Because now I have so much spare time. And when you start thinking about that and leaning further and further into the blue sky, like what sort of hobbies I'll have and, all that sort of stuff, like it can be whatever. The more you focus your thoughts on that on the daily basis, like literally 24/7, the faster things will manifest, right? Now, of course, there are going to be some clouds that show up, a client complaining, a seller having a bad day, a sales call's no-showing, a hire that doesn't work out. You need to have that conscious awareness on the day-to-day basis where you don't fall into spiraling emotionally just because something external, negative, quote-unquote negative happened, right? Because that's when most guys instantly forget that the blue sky exists, right? Because now you're basically being an emotional fucking bitch, right? Thinking about all the negative clouds all the time. So then you just start staring at the clouds. And obviously when you stare at your clouds, your thoughts become, fuck, this isn't working, I'm not really ready to scale. Maybe I shouldn't hire yet. Maybe I need to fix fulfillment or the churn issues before. Or maybe I need to lower my prices or, try a completely different niche. And the second you start thinking like that, your state changes, right? You go from being the operator to a victim, right? You go from being like a new identity to the old identity, essentially. And when you're in that old identity state, you make completely different decisions, right? And you start operating from, again, the old identity, right? But the truth is that the old identity will only get you so far that you've come now. And as you're in that old identity state, you start, chasing clients instead of not really giving a shit if they're signing or not, right? And you might start micromanaging the team members you have instead of building the systems for the next couple hires. And you might even start delaying the hires that you need to make. And then the business starts reflecting that back to you, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that your thoughts doesn't magically make you money, right? But it indirectly does. Because the point is that thoughts create the state that creates the actions that create the money. All right? And that's the part people miss, because everyone wants to talk about the strategy and the business tactics and all that stuff. And obviously it matters a lot, but two people can have the exact same strategy, the exact same offer, this exact same niche, scripts, and one guy is going to scale to 100K a month and the other guy is going to stay stuck at 15K a month. And why is that? Because the guy who hits 100K a month is being the person who can actually hold that level, right? And the other guy is still emotionally operating like someone who is scared to lose the 15K. And that was one of the biggest shifts for me personally, right? I had to stop identifying with the current external reality of the business, because your current reality is literally just a dark reflection of your old thoughts and your old decisions and your old assumptions, old actions and old identity, and basically that old identity being reflected back to you. So if you look at your agency right now and think to yourself like, damn, I'm stuck at 20K, you have to realize that that's just what the mirror is currently showing you. And if you don't like what the mirror is showing you, you don't punch the mirror, right? You don't cry at the mirror, or you don't negotiate with it, right? You simply change the thing being reflected into the mirror, right? It's like looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, fuck, I'm fat and I'm unfit. You're not gonna punch the mirror, right? You're just gonna go to the gym. And then over time, the mirror is gonna start reflecting you being more fit and more skinny and more shredded and all that stuff, right? It's the exact same analogy. Because what the mirror is reflecting is simply who you're being, right? And your being is just a reflection of your state. And your state gets created by the thoughts you have on a day-to-day basis. And based on that state, you're obviously going to take actions, right? Whether they're aligned or misaligned with the new identity, right? Either you're acting in alignment with the new identity, or the old identity. So this is where defining the blue sky becomes really, really important as well, okay? Because most agency owners here, they don't actually have a clear sky, right? Haven't clarified the vision. They just say random shit like, yeah, I want to scale to 100K a month, but they haven't clarified like, how does the business actually look like, right? How many clients do you currently have and what price points are they paying you? Like, are you only relying on PIFs, or do you have like a lot of MRR stacked up? Like, how does fulfillment look like, like who's on the team? And are you still replying to clients at midnight, for example? Or are you still closing every single deal by yourself? And are you still full of fear when a client asks for a refund? Because if your blue sky, which is basically like the vision, right, is not properly defined, then your mind has nothing to actually align with, right? And if your mind has nothing to align with, the clouds will win every damn time, because it's like, the blue sky is there, but you don't know actually how the blue sky looks like. So for me, when I started to properly define the next version of my agency, it became way easier to catch those thoughts that didn't belong and align with the blue sky, essentially. Because I would just ask myself, like, would the 100K a month agency of mine, panic over this, or really care about, this client churning or anything? Like, would he be needy on sales calls? Would he spend 3 hours emotionally reacting to one client complaining? And would he make decisions out of fear? And most of the time, the answer was obviously no, right? And that's when you become consciously aware. Conscious awareness is the root cause to everything that you want in life. Because once you have that conscious awareness, you can start controlling it, right? And you can start feeding your energy into what you actually want. So when a thought comes in that is not aligned with your blue sky, you literally just say no, right? That's it. Like, literally everything, just no. You don't start to argue with a thought or journaling about it for like an hour. Like, you don't make it some insane spiritual battle. You just say no when an unwanted thought comes up. And then you obviously recognize that this thought is not aligned with, where you're going or who you actually are. And that is coming from fear, scarcity, or your old identity's ego. And so when you say no, then you redirect your awareness or attention to some aligned blue sky thought, right? And you go back to thinking about the vision again. You go back to the version of you who's already operating at that level by now, thinking the same thoughts that he would have on the day-to-day basis. It's that simple. So just to give you an example, right? I'd say no to a thought that was low frequency or just not aligned with my blue sky. And then I'd immediately start thinking about the blue sky thought that could, for example, be me being excited about the stuff in the upcoming weekend. For example, I got new mods for the GT3 RS that I bought recently, that's being finished on Friday. And then on Saturday morning, me and the boys is gonna go golfing at 9 a.m. Gonna pull up to the golf pitch at like 8:30 a.m. And then we're gonna grab lunch after that. And then at like 2 p.m. or so, there's gonna be a Porsche convoy. So we're gonna join for that as well. And when I pull up to the convoy, or like the meet and greet or whatever, then there might be like an uncle there who invites me to a yacht party and told me I could bring my boys and everything too. And these are real thoughts that I would actually have at that level, right? And that's all you wanna do. They need to be super, super real. Like, it could be, for example, a conversation that I had with that guy. It could be me and the boys, sitting at a villa after we had a grill party in the middle of the summer, and we were talking about some girls we brought home after a night out. Like, it can be literally everything. The thing you also need to be aware of is that the thoughts I'm having will obviously not align with your blue sky thoughts that you would have, because everyone is different, right? Everyone has a different vision, and everyone's soul aligned with something different to them, because that as well is super, super important. You need to make sure that these thoughts are from your soul, not your ego, because otherwise you're not going to get there at all. Now, again, I'm not saying that you should ignore all these clouds, which is obviously like the problems you're going to face here and there, because some people might hear this and think that they should, only have positive thoughts 24/7 and pretend that everything is perfect. But no, that's delusion, right? If a client is pissed, you obviously solve it. And if ads are not working, you are going to go and fix it, right? Or if your team member is underperforming, you might have to fire them, right? But the thing is that the state you enter that with should not be from your old identity, from panic or fear or anger or envy or any low old identity frequency, right? You solve problems from the state of the person who already has the outcome that you want. That's the difference, because the problem itself is usually not even the issue, right? The issue is the state that you enter when the problem appears with. Because a weak state makes small problems feel huge, and a strong state makes big problems feel small and manageable, and you basically just don't care as much, right? And that is why two agency owners can deal with the exact same situation And one guy completely collapses and, you know, rolls up in a ball and starts fucking crying for 3 hours. And the other guy just handles it right there and then and just doesn't really give a fuck and puts on house music and just keeps vibing. It's not because the second guy has no problems, but it's because his internal state is not being hijacked by every single cloud that passes by, right? And this is what I mean when I say your thoughts are directly reflected into your life. Just think about the thoughts that you've been having on a day-to-day basis, because you probably haven't had that conscious awareness and said no to every single thought and consciously controlled them and aligned them with the blue sky vision that you have for yourself. You've probably been thinking emotionally, right, by some external stuff. Because if you're honest with yourself and you just sit down for a couple minutes and think, you can probably see exactly how those thoughts have affected your external reality, right? Maybe you showed up needy on sales calls, or maybe you didn't make the hire that you were planning to do, right? Because maybe you delayed building the actual SOPs for that role. And then you think that the business is the issue, but it started way before the business, right? It started in your thoughts. And this is why I think manifestation overall is usually explained in a very, very weird way, because I don't think it's like you visualize a scene and then the scene itself magically goes into the universe and pulls it towards you. Maybe that's how some people explain it and whatever. The more grounded way to look at this is this. The scene that you visualize changes who you're being because of how you feel when you visualize it. And your being changes your behavior and actions, and your actions change what the mirror reflects back. So when I held the visualization and thoughts of the agency doing bigger months, me being more detached, the team being more dialed in, clients getting better results, and me not being involved in every little thing, and I was living in my own apartment, having the whip and the close circle as well of friends that I actually wanted, it didn't just make me feel good, but it made me act completely differently as well. Because I started making decisions from that energy of me already being there, and I started removing myself way more as well. I started trusting the systems more. I started leading way better as well. And obviously I didn't care as much about every single little short-term fluctuation, and I overall just stopped chasing and eating. And then weirdly enough, the external world started catching up, right? More deals getting closed, the team performed way better, the business felt lighter, everything just fucking started clicking, right? And I was way more calmer as well. And even when things unfolded, I was like, yeah, of course, it's normal, you know? And it's almost like these magical things just start happening, right? Because everything just starts unfolding externally. And that's kind of how the month ended up being the biggest month we've ever had. Not because I forced it or anything like that, but because internally I stopped contradicting it, right? And that's a huge point. Because a lot of guys say they want 100K a month, but their thoughts contradict it every single day. They say they want more clients, but deep down they think it's going to be a nightmare if they sign more because they're the only one doing fulfillment. So consciously, they obviously want the blue sky, but subconsciously they're addicted to the clouds, and that creates this harmony. And that's why it feels like you're forcing literally everything, because your conscious mind is saying, I want to scale to 100K a month, but your subconscious mind is saying scaling is dangerous, you know? More clients means more stress, more team members means, you know, I'm less in control, more money means less pressure essentially. And until the subconscious and conscious are aligned, scaling will always feel heavy, right? You can still grow, but it feels like you're dragging yourself there. Because at the end of the day, the goal is harmony between your subconscious and conscious mind. Because when your conscious vision and your subconscious beliefs are going in the same direction, that's when your soul starts singing. And that's when the vision actually starts to feel right. And it's kind of hard for me to describe that feeling, because it's something that you need to feel within yourself, right? It's like you just know this is it, you know, like it's just so deep conviction in yourself essentially. And naturally you start waking up excited and you just focus your energy on the blue sky thoughts every single day essentially, simply because it generally feels aligned with who you are. And this is another huge part I want to touch upon quickly as well, because your thoughts can't just come from ego, because ego thoughts are usually very noisy, right? They're like, I need to prove myself, I need to be better than him, I need people to see me, you know, I need to hit these numbers so I can finally feel good about myself. And trust me, like you can scale to certain numbers for a while there, and like a lot of people do, but eventually it starts feeling disgusting, right? You start feeling empty inside, and the number that you hit just doesn't even feel good, right? Because the whole thing was built from lack. But thoughts that comes from love, alignment, and actual inner fulfillment, they feel completely different. They feel calm, expansive, and actually true, you know? And so the change is going from I need 100K a month to feel like I'm enough, to I'm building a 100K a month agency because that's the natural expression of who I'm being right now. You be and then you do and then you get the outcome, instead of acting to try and be and then you get the outcome. Essentially, that's the switch. And that switch as well is a completely different energy, and people around you as well, they can feel that switch as well. They can, like, the team can feel it, your clients can feel it, even people in the day-to-day life, they can feel that, because you got such high certainty within yourself that it's actually done, you know. It's just a matter of time before the external catches up. But for example, when you operate from lack and neediness, that's when you start chasing and you're needing everything. So the practical thing that I basically started doing, and what I recommend you all to do as well, is very, very simple. Every single morning before you check your phone, you know, do anything at all, just sit with yourself and your thoughts and say no to every single negative thought. And then you consciously choose a blue sky thought, right? And that could, for example, be, you know, what would the 100K a month version of me be doing today? Because the calendar is completely empty, right? I don't have any goals at all. And then you visualize that day, which could, for example, be, you know, him doing a bit of deep work here and there, you know, building out some SOPs. And then he goes to the gym. And after that, he grabs lunch with the boys. And then you just go deep into, you know, one of those things, essentially. Like, whatever is a blue sky thought for you that you reckon you'd talk about or think about once you're at that level, that's what you want to think about, right? And then as you start going through the day, your job is to become consciously aware of the clouds, and that's it. Like, whenever a thought comes in, which could, for example, be, you know, you being pissed about a client who disputed you, become aware of it, right? Become aware of that thought, and then just say nope, and then just replace it with a thought that is aligned with the blue sky. And when you do this every single day of the week, and every minute and every second of the day, like literally having full conscious awareness of every single thought, catching it and then changing it, your life will start fucking transforming like crazy, right? Not overnight, but it becomes very obvious, right? You start showing up differently because you're now in a higher state of being. So naturally you stop wasting so much energy and spiraling into these negative bullshit thoughts, and you just make way cleaner decisions. And overall you become way more detached, and everything externally will eventually start reflecting that back, right? Initially it's going to require some discipline to kind of control those thoughts, but once you've developed that muscle in your brain, essentially, then everything is it's just a matter of time before everything starts reflecting back to you. Because again, your business is not separate from you. It's simply just an external reflection of your internal state, your standards, your beliefs, your decisions, your identity. And if the business feels capped, ask yourself what version of yourself is still being protected and is still running in certain areas. Because a lot of the time, the thing you think is protecting you is actually the thing keeping you stuck, right? The fear is not protecting you. The overthinking is not protecting you. The constant reacting is not protecting you. It's just keeping you in alignment to the old timeline. And once you become aware of that, you can start choosing differently. And that's when reality starts bending, because you're no longer being dragged around by the old identity. So I promise you, boys, if you do this for even 7 days, you will notice a huge difference, right? Just for 7 days, right? Stop letting every thought run your life, and stop reacting emotionally to the clouds, and just focus all your thoughts and energy on the blue sky, and just think as much as possible in the same thoughts, essentially, that you would have if you were at the goal you want to get to. So yeah, boys, that was pretty much it for this video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you boys in the next one. Peace.